Shane Van Gisbergen has completed his first Cup trip to the Charlotte ROVAL and finishes in a respectful 7th place. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to your video. As I just said a second ago, Shane Van Gisbergen has completed his first Cup trip to the Charlotte ROVAL and finishes in 7th position. A couple days ago, he was not originally planned to run this race, but they added on, I believe, Monday that he was going to be running this race. Now, he actually qualified on the pole, his first ever NASCAR Cup Series pole, which is really impressive. Also on the pole for the Xfinity race where he finished third the previous day. Shane was on the pole, and he would dominate the early portion of this race, leading the first 10 to 15 laps, pulled out to about a 2-second lead over Kyle Larson, and continued to pull away, and led the first 22 laps of the race. But with about 3 laps to go in stage number 1, Shane Van Gisbergen would come down pit road to get on a strategy where he could be up front. Now, Kyle Larson, who had a better car, was able to beat him off pit road, and Shane would come out right behind Kyle Larson, but about 4 or 5 seconds behind him. Meanwhile, Tyler Reddick had the race lead as a couple of the leaders would come down early. Tyler Reddick had a big lead. Tyler Reddick would, of course, come off the corner and then win stage number 1. Kyle Larson would be ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen at the end of the stage. I think Larson would be 5th or 6th at the end of stage number 1, catching guys in front of him, and Shane would come off the corner, be around 6th or 7th, and 2nd on the main strategy. On the restart, Kyle Larson would have the lead over Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane would try everything he could to get back by Kyle Larson, but didn't have anything for him, and Shane would stay in 2nd position. There then was a couple cautions in the middle portion of stage number 2, where Shane would continue to be running up front. And then on the next restart, after the second restart that had taken place, Shane would be right on the outside of Kyle Larson, actually tried to be a little bit of aggressive on this restart, but unfortunately, he just made a little bit too much of an aggressive move and lost the spot to Kurt Bell and fell back to 3rd position. Shane would remain in 3rd and start fading back a little bit, but the top 3 were really far ahead of drivers like Alex Bowman, William Byron, and Chase Elliott, and they were taken off from the rest of the field. Shane would keep up a little bit, but Bell would also start losing a little bit of ground, and Larson continued to dominate. At the end of stage number 2, you had guys like Kyle Busch coming down pit road. Bubba Wallace was having a really good day. He would come down pit road. Same with Chase Elliott and those guys, actually, I believe. And then Shane Van Gisbergen and the top 3 in the field, Gisbergen, Bell, and Larson, would all come down pit road in stage number 2. This would give the lead to Alex Bowman. Shane would drop back to about 14th or 15th. Kyle Larson would be about 9th or 10th, and Bell would be about 12th. SVG got a couple positions here at the end of the stage, but Bowman would come off the corner and win stage number 2, while Shane would come off the final corner and be in 13th. After everything had cycled through, Shane would be restarting around 9th or 10th position on the next restart. Some guys like AJ Allmendinger had stayed out, Joe Logano had stayed out, Bubba Wallace had stayed out, and Kyle Larson and Dominic Carr would be restarting around 5th or 6th position. On that restart, Shane would actually get a really strong restart and start moving his way up to the front. But about halfway through the race, everything would change for Shane. Going into the turn number 7 at that new corner on the racetrack, unfortunately, Carson Ospar, who had been a menace all day long, would completely send it into the corner and just dump Shane in the corner, and Chris Buescher would get collected as well. This one, unfortunately, dropped Shane from 11th position all the way back down to 23rd position. I just don't know what Carson Ospar was doing there. That was a dumb move on Carson Ospar's end, just a bad move. But this, luckily for Shane, this would not be the end of his race. And he started moving his way back up to the front. Every lap, he gained a couple positions. One lap, he moved from 23rd to 21st. Then the next lap, moved from 21st up to 19th or 18th. And he continued starting to move his way back up to the front and would be inside the top 20 with around 40 laps to go in the race. And he continued to move his way up to the front. And then green flag pit stops would start happening, and all the leaders in front of him, except Austin Dillon, would come to pit road. He actually would go all the way from about 24th all the way up to 4th position. And then he started losing a few positions because AJ Allmendinger, who had fresh tires, he was up to 2nd position as Kyle Larson had the race lead. And then everything would change with around 30 laps to go, and Austin Dillon, who was in front of SVG at the time, he would come down pit road and unfortunately would have a loose wheel coming back on the racetrack that would bring out the caution. At this point, AJ Allmendinger and Shane Van Gisbergen would both come down pit road while the rest leaders stayed out. SVG would then restart around 23rd position on the final restart of the race with around 30 laps to go. Luckily for those two guys, they started charging their way up to the front. Fresh tires definitely meant a lot more than they have in the past. I was really scared that SVG was not going to have a chance and opportunity to get a good finish, but Shane's car was so much faster that he started passing a lot of guys in front of him. With about 20 laps to go, he was up inside the top 15 and continued making that dive bomb move and started passing cars in front of him. With about 10 to 15 to go, he was inside of the top 10 after getting by drivers like Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin. And he continued charging his way up to the front, also got by guys like Kyle Busch as well. And then with around 5 to 6 to go, he got by Bubba Wallace. And then a few laps later, he got up to Joey Logano and tried to make the move to catch his teammate AJ Allmendinger, but no one was going to challenge Kyle Larson near the end of this race. Coming off the final corner at the Charlotte Roval, Kyle Larson would come off the corner and pick up his 6th win of the 2024 season. Bell will come across the line second, and Shane Van Gisbergen would come off the corner and finish 7th at the Charlotte Roval. Coming into the weekend, he was my pick to win. I really thought SVG was going to have the car to beat because he's been really good at the road courses this year. And while I don't think he had the fastest car, I still think he probably had the 3rd best car today. He still had a very, very solid run considering they made some bad pit strategy calls throughout the day. And it just didn't seem like the 13 car just had the overall pace or grip once he got stuck in traffic. I really thought he was going to be able to get through the traffic a lot quicker, and he just didn't have the overall speed to go for the win and victory. But to finish 7th, a really solid run, and also led the most laps he's ever led in a single race. He led 22 laps, second most to Kyle Larson, who led 60 laps in the race today. A dominant run by Kyle Larson, but SVG had a really solid run. Again, I just don't think he had anything for Kyle Larson, unfortunately, or Christopher Bell. I think Bell had a better car at the end of the race too, so I think he did have a top 3 car, but not the car to beat. Colin just hasn't had the cars to beat at all this year. The Trackhouse cars weren't as strong this time around because the Trackhouse team did prepare this car, so he just didn't have the overall pace or grip or speed to be really up front and contending for the win. But 7th place, a really solid run for SVG. Another top 10 run for him. He's been a little better in the Cup Series recently. I thought he was going to have a chance, though, to get it done, but you think about this experience. Getting the track time, majorly important. And he's going to get a lot of track time going to next week, too, because he's not only running the NASCAR Xfinity Series race, but he's running the Cup race as well at Las Vegas. This is going to be a very intriguing race. I think SVG, if they can bring the car to him, yes, it's a call-prepared car, but if they could bring a solid car and a good enough car for him, I could see Shane Van Gisbergen having a solid top 20 or top 25 run. And obviously, he's going to be looking for redemption at Vegas in the Xfinity Series race because remember, the last time he ran at Vegas in Xfinity, he had an engine failure near the end of the race. So that's going to be very intriguing to see what happens. If he can just completely lapse as much as possible, that is going to be the most important thing because, of course, he's going full-time next year, being teammates at Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez. A little disappointed to see him not go to victory lane, but getting a top 10, a really solid day, all things considered. He should be happy about that he had a solid run today to get a top 10. Led a ton of laps as well. He looked really good out there. Just not enough to get it done, but to get a top 10, a pretty good day for SVG. Has his best overall weekend for both series that he's racing. Of course, finished 3rd at the Charlotte Roval in Xfinity yesterday and finished 7th. A solid day for SVG, all things considered, to get himself a top 10 finish. So, that is going to be it for today's video on Shane Van Gisbergen. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me through Facebook and Instagram and support on Patreon as well. List description below that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. How do you think Shane Van Gisbergen performed today at the Charlotte Roval? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, we'll have a NASCAR news video discussing news over the course of the last couple of days. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about the officiating controversy tomorrow. Then on Tuesday, you're going to see the entry list video for the South Point 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Then on Wednesday, you'll have a NASCAR news video, and you're also going to most likely see the Xfinity Series race pick for Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Thursday, we'll have Cup picks for the South Point 400, and we will also have a NASCAR news video potentially as well that weekend on Friday. Have a Haley Deegan video potentially in the future as well, so check that out, and Carl Edwards video potentially as well coming soon. So you might see all that content coming very, very soon. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.